Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. I'm addicted to eating. I love food. I talk about food. I like to eat clean. I like to eat non-GMO foods, but every now and then I do go off the deep end. I admit it. I'm terrible. I'd like to go off the deep end less often than I do. I am addicted to things like chocolate. A day without chocolate is like a day with, I almost said a day without sex, but I won't go there. Our guest is Erin Wathen. Thank you for laughing. She's a health translator and the author of Why Can't I Stick to My Diet? And she is calling us today from Portugal, as in next door to Spain. Erin, welcome to Late Night Health.
Thank you so much for having me.
How did you were not into teaching and training people to be happy and healthy? You were in the you were hiring and firing people in the HR business.
Yeah. Actually, I have a master's in human resources and BS in sociology. I guess I could open up a sociology store, as my dad used to say.
Yeah. There are a lot of them. There may be too many of those sociology stores.
I imagined Lucy, with her Peanuts, with her advice on people moving to sociology. I was in a very different field, but I always worked out. I always was interested in health and wellness. I was always, one of those people that was up on the latest trends, lifetime subscription of Shape magazine kind of person. But only the last, 5-10 years have I gotten super serious as far as making a career out of it.
And leaving the corporate world.
Yeah, it coincided with the birth of my daughter. So when my daughter was born, we left Manhattan and moved to the suburbs. And after about 6 months, I'm like, I can't do this. I was just, everything was about, I would go to these mom groups, and it was like, we talk about rice cereal and, diapers, and I just remember thinking,
and your husband's.
And my husband didn't do something or did something. And it was just like all I was someone's mom and someone's wife, and I couldn't deal. And I knew I didn't want to schlep from the suburbs back into Manhattan and deal with HR, because HR is a lot of putting out fires, right?
Right.
Someone doesn't like their employee, someone doesn't like their boss, someone needs a form filled out right. So I knew I needed to do something. And I saw this sign at the gym saying they were doing a spinning certification workshop that weekend. And it's like, make money working out. And I'm like, I'll do this. And it was very exciting for me because I was back to being a human again.
Uh-huh.
I was back to being a grown-up. Even if it was only for, that 1 hour of the day, I was just Erin again.
It was Erin's time.
Work out. It was exactly. And, I'm sure at the time I bought a couple sports bras and paid the babysitter. I didn't make any money, but it didn't matter. I was getting a lot of satisfaction out of it, and I liked it. And I started with spinning, and then I added yoga certification, and then Pilates, and then a couple other little smaller ones. But those were the main 3 that I taught for years and years.
And are you teaching that now?
I am on the sub lists, but I'm too busy with my business actually now to have full-time classes.
Got it.
But I did teach forever.
And what is your business? What are you're helping people like me drop that last 15 pounds, 10, 15 pounds?
Yes, I am a health and wellness coach. I help people drop the last 15 pounds. I help people figure out what emotional component is behind the 15 pounds. I clean up their diet. I help a lot with what's behind the weight, because so many of us think, we just have a problem with bread, or, it's just the winter, or I just need to, get a hold of myself for 2 weeks and I'll be fine. And actually there's a much bigger emotional component behind it, because if it was as easy as knowing what to eat, we'd all be thin, right? Everyone for the most part, over the age of, I think, probably 12, knows enough about nutrition to be in a healthy weight, and yet you walk down the street and you don't see that represented in our culture. So what's the disconnect? Disconnect is a lot of us don't want to accept or see or even go there to the emotional component of our weight, like why we're eating when we're not hungry, why we eat past the point of being full. And also the foods we're going to are foods that are very intense, like you mentioned chocolate earlier. They're very intense, pleasure-oriented foods. So all of our little senses in our brain get very happy when we have them, but as quickly as they get happy, they get just as sad.
Right.
The dreaded sugar crash, right? So getting people away from those sort of foods, in addition to working on the emotional part, is what I do a lot of. There's your sociology degree comes into play there with counseling. Why are Americans heavier than, say, those in Europe? And while I haven't been to Portugal, having just returned from Spain, there are not a lot of real fat people walking around. Yeah, I mean, my husband and I were talking about at lunch today, and he was served rice and French fries at lunch. And there was a fried egg on his steak, and there was a bread basket. I think they're probably, I haven't seen any studies, but if I was to guess, it's how they eat as well. So their portions are smaller. They eat slowly. They don't snack. You never see anyone walking down the street just eating like you would in America. Their portions are so much smaller. Like
a third.
Here, I think a soda here is like maybe 10 ounces. Well, to us, that isn't even the smallest drink in McDonald's.
That's a sip.
Right?
Yeah, it's a sip.
Yeah. If you go to like South America, their portions are tiny as well. I think our portions are out of control. I also think just the quality of the food we eat is so low. Like all the processed food, I think it's especially horrible. But the thing about processed food is it's so intense of a reaction to our pleasure sensors or dopamine sensors in our brain. Like it's processed, it's pre-broken down. So it doesn't take much for our body to get the little jolt from it. Like high fructose corn syrup is a really good example. Like think of like a little kid with an icy. Like right away they get that little jolt. Actually, it's a big jolt of like intense feelings from the sugar. How many apples would you have to eat?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure I could figure it out if I sat and thought about it. But you'd be eating apples for a very long time. You'd probably be sick of the apples way before. You could slurp down that Slurpee in a couple of minutes with a big straw.
And what's also interesting to me is that most of the applesauce made in this country, at least, has high fructose sugar added to it. And
I know.
I hate that. I just want applesauce. It's ground apple.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
I went to a conference. It was all the big food people. I was surprised to let me in, like ConAgra and all the big ones, right? And it was the little breakout room with something like children's nutrition. I was all excited. So I went there, and they had all these nutrition, I'm using air quotes, experts talking about how they add high fructose corn syrup to juice because the focus groups liked the sweeter version. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So they're adding corn syrup to juice. That's,
baby foods, 20 years ago, they were awful. They were terrible because of all the additives and the sugar and stuff. What about GMOs? In Spain, I understand they're not allowed. What about in Portugal, where you are now?
They aren't allowed either, which is why the fruit in the grocery store isn't as pretty. My husband asked that as well. He's like, well, that's not like the vegetables here. I said, they don't manipulate them like we do.
But they taste great.
They taste better, though.
Yeah.
Like even like the zucchini and weird stuff like that. So I think I'm sure you could do a whole extrapolated, theory on why we need everything to taste bad and look good in America.
Well, it's like dating.
Represent.
There's akin to dating. The ugly ones,
exactly.
Both men and women. It doesn't matter what your preference is. The ugly ones are always nicer.
Yeah, go for the ugly ones, right?
You got to go for the ugly ones.
You go for the ugly.
Yes.
No, but in Europe, they have a lot of, they don't have the weird macaroni and cheese that we have. They don't do a lot of things that we do just because my guess is they don't have the giant food lobbies. They don't have all the crazy, ketchup as a vegetable kind of stuff like we have.
Driving through Spain, it was just, mile after mile of farmland. We were driving from Barcelona all the way down to Malaga, and it was incredible. The bulk of the crop was olives, which is one of my favorite vegetables. Actually, I guess olives are a fruit. They have a seed. But I've not met an olive I didn't like. It's one of those kinds of things. Our guest is Erin Wathen. She is a health translator, author of Why Can't I Stick to My Diet? So let's, in this segment, we have just a few minutes and we'll be back after that. The word diet, isn't that a negative word now?
It is, but it's not. It's not. It should be negative for the reasons that a lot of people don't realize it should be negative for. The reason people say diets don't work, so I'm just going to pass the beignets, right? That's what I hear all the time. Diets don't work, so the body acceptance movement. That's actually not what any of the science says, and that's not what anyone that knows what they're talking about says. Diets don't work, or why people can't stick to their diet, which is why I title my book that, is because we go on them with the intention of going off. The only thing that truly works is a lifestyle change. So I was one of these women who was always on a diet. I had a gallon of Diet Coke every day. I was always eating sugar. I didn't understand why I was 15 pounds heavier than I am right now. It didn't make any sense. I exercised all the time. What was going on? I always asked my husband, do I look fat in this? And you can imagine how that worked out.
Oh, that's a terror. I hate when my wife says that to me.
Yeah, I know. He was always like, I got to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm home from work. Where do you have to go?
Right,
so
yeah.
I didn't understand it emotionally. Intellectually, I probably did if I was going to be honest with myself, that I was eating so much sugar and drinking so much artificial sweetener that I was just perpetually on this sugar merry-go-round. So I would go on a diet with the greatest of intentions, but I couldn't stand to be on it or stick to it
because it didn't taste good. Erin, we're going to take a couple minutes out, and then we'll be back with Erin Wathen, the author of Why Can't I Stick to My Diet. You can find it on Amazon right now. It comes out in bookstores, according to this, in November of this year. All right, don't go away. More coming up with the Insane Daryl Wayne and me. I'm Mark Alyn.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. Balance in life isn't about making everything equal. It's about sharing equal parts of your heart for each area of your life. Many people seem to struggle with bringing their life into balance. Family, work, and health all seem to be a challenge these days. Think of the demands you have on your own schedule and time. It can be frustrating and overwhelming. What's most important to discover is that peace is not about finding a quiet place among the chaos. Peace is about listening for the divine whispers of love amidst this turmoil. Take a breath and you will find balance.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit GuideToTheSoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on LateNightHealth.com.
The stigma around mental health disorders and suicide is still very strong in our culture. It's an uncomfortable topic for many of us, and yet it's something we can't afford to ignore, according to Dan Shuck, the author of A Glass Half Empty or Half Full, a children's book for grown-ups. Last month, the CDC released a study that reports suicide rates went up more than 30% in half the states since 1999. A Glass Half Empty or Half Full, a children's book for grown-ups, takes a new approach to addressing mental illness. The book playfully explores pessimism versus optimism to find balance, manage stress, and enjoy life. The book uses humor to provide an opportunity to determine the fullness of our own glass and how to apply it to our daily lives. Donations from the proceeds of the book will be made to a Glass Half Question fundraising campaign for the Brain and Behavior Research Foundation. A Glass Half Empty or Half Full, a children's book for grown-ups, is available from Amazon.com, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. For more information, visit www.glasshalfquestion.com.